By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, which we hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. It's nice to have a show today on a Monday, to which we will talk about a win that the Razorbacks had in the SEC a little bit as we recap that slightly, but also turn the page to Texas A&M and really get to break down the greatest press conference that ever existed of Sam Pittman that went really long. And here we are going to take some of the stuff from that. We'll look at the SEC. We'll get, of course, to your messages and your phone calls and all that fun stuff. But guys, happy Monday. How are we feeling today?
Happy Monday, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. It's always nice to get a dub. And I wasn't sure if Arkansas could win a game like they did on Saturday. They did, so that's cool. Was happy for Sam Pittman. And honestly, I'm just excited because now people are pumped up about football again. We can talk about this Texas A&M game, whether or not Arkansas can go over there and beat those dudes. And it's not about, the Sam Pittman's future in a couple weeks when the bye week comes around. Like it's about football, man. And that really excites me. It does.
I'm definitely excited for football. I'm excited that fans are excited for football. And then, like you said, Curtis, that we can actually just talk about the team and the games and some of these in-season developments and talk about the story that's unfolding in front of us rather than, the big picture analyzation of whether or not Sam Pittman needs to be taken out to pasture and all that. So that's all fine and dandy. But, man, that press conference really put me in a sour mood. The excitement clearly is not limited to just us and the fans because Arkansas media really likes to talk, man, and they really like to just hear themselves talk. And they like to ask questions. And I know there's media members watching right now. So I'm just going to say, if you had a question planned to ask and someone else asks it, don't just say, you know what, I'm going to ask my question anyway. We're just going to repeat. We're going to ask 5 questions about the O-line. We're going to ask 3 questions about Luke Hasz, none of which get a good answer. Goodness, man, that really bummed me out. And it went 35 minutes. Actually went a little bit more than 35 minutes, but it's crazy. Just kind of threw me off. I was in such a good mood 40 minutes ago.
Hey, no stone left unturned, man. It was a very thorough presser, but honestly, that just means they gave Sam Pittman every opportunity to step on his own foot or whatever, like he does sometimes in these pressers. And for the most part, I thought he nailed it today. So the team has some confidence after a win. Sam Pittman has some confidence on the microphone after a win. But I do think it was some of the repeat questions there. It was like, all right, come on now. But I do think we got a lot out of this. We talked about a lot of things. We've heard about guys who were suspended, got injury updates. There's more on the Luke Hasz situation, which I'm sure you're excited to talk about, Andrew. Just a little bit of everything here in preparation for the game and stuff that they need to clean up from Auburn. So, man, it feels like there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there is, and we're going to try to do our best to go through it because, again, there's still a lot of things to be excited about if you're a Razorback fan heading into Texas A&M, and there's going to be some updates that we'll get to as well. And again, folks, if you want in on the conversation, we'll take your phone calls here in just a little bit. 478-344-6623 is that number to call in. So we will start with, of course, one of the biggest things that happened in this game that, again, Arkansas wins, so you got to be happy with that. But there was no doubt that Taylen Green struggled. His accuracy, once again, was a problem. Threw 2 interceptions in this game. And Sam Pittman was asked about Taylen and also just about the team in general trying to continue to improve. Because like you said, Curtis, probably wouldn't think most of the cases that if they play a game like that again, they're probably not going to win. But you got away with it. So here's what Sam Pittman had to say about Taylen Green and about the team in general trying to improve.
Yeah, I think we've got to be. Taylen's got to be better, but and he'll tell you that. But we've got to be better around him. Our protection game is not very good right now, and it's not necessarily getting beat one-on-one. It's again not by blocking the 5 most dangerous in a 5-man protection, not holding up at tight end. And when they're in protection, not blocking well at running back when they're in protection. And if you're Taylen Green, you're back there, you're expecting that these guys are blocked. And so probably the most concerning part of offensive football from Saturday was the way that we did not protect the quarterback. And as we all know who played the game, at some point you're going to try to do too much because you're feeling like we've got to make a big play because we're not just consistently driving the ball down the field. So with all that said, Taylen's got to make good decisions, but at the same time, we've got to get a lot better around him, especially in protections, for us to hit on all cylinders, which, let's say this, I believe that we are capable and I believe that we will, but we've got to get better there. And I think we'll become a much better offense at that point.
So kind of just laying out there, talking about Taylen Green, but, doing what a coach does and saying it's not just a Taylen Green problem, but it's also the protection for him, other guys playing better around him. I mean, from what we've seen so far this year, is that actually pretty accurate? Is it more than just Taylen Green? Is it the other guys that either protection or dropping balls, something like that could play a bigger factor into it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought that was pretty well said by Sam, where he acknowledged, I think everybody would acknowledge that there's a lot of areas that Taylen Green needs to improve upon. It's not just the 44% completions. He's last in the SEC in completion percentage, by the way. But he's also like second in total offense and, fourth in passing, even though people say he can't pass. So for all the misfires and the poor decision making that we see at times from him, you also get those huge highlight plays. Like we saw in that, he escapes, he rolls out, he hits Satania for that long one. He's always got that threat of being able to make a big play, hit the home run, whatever analogy you want to use. The issue is that they constantly need him to do that because they get in these crazy third and long situations because a lot of things Sam said. I think that the right side of that offensive line, especially in pass pro, has been an issue for him for a few games now. So, yeah, a lot of things to tighten up. But, it's not a good problem to have, but it's better to have these conversations when you're 3-1 and you just won an SEC road game by 10 points because you've been able to overcome that. And what I think when I look at this schedule is every week here moving forward, with the exception of like Mississippi State and Louisiana Tech, like the challenge continues to grow. So you've got to continue to clean things up and elevate your play just enough to kind of keep pace. Like, will this type of game beat Texas A&M? Maybe not, but if they make some of the necessary corrections, and they definitely got a shot to do it. So I think I agreed with pretty much everything he said there.
Yeah, I thought he handled that really well. And I think, honestly, it's going to be a recurring theme that you hear us hammer into the ground this week, likely. And Curtis, you wrote a really good piece about this on it's time to just kind of embrace what Taylen Green is and who he is as a player and what he brings to the offense. And I know some people are like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. He sucks and he can't throw and blah, blah, blah. He's clearly your best option. I would say he clearly elevates the offense. Like a lot of the best moments for this offense are due to Taylen Green. And because of the stuff that he's able to make, I think he masks a lot of the issues they have in terms of protection. But of course, we know the deficiencies. We see the accuracy issues. We see that sometimes he's a little up and down. He's a little bit of a roller coaster. But I think for Arkansas as a team, there's a lot that can be said about them needing to just kind of embrace what they have in Taylen Green. And I think they'll continue to find that identity, which is a word you hear offenses talk about a good bit. And so I definitely agree with Sam that it's not just a Taylen Green thing at all. And I think Saturday's game was actually the clearest example of that. Whereas at the UAB game, it really did feel like a Taylen Green issue. And I think in that game in particular, that was the worst game he's played of the year by far. In that game, I felt like he missed a ton of opportunities. But I felt like in this Auburn game, although statistically it looked pretty similar to what he did against UAB, I thought Arkansas's O-line and receivers, frankly, were as much or if not more to blame for that issue than Taylen Green. And so I think Arkansas, as an offense, there's plenty they can clean up. And I don't think Taylen Green is ever going to be this like just savant who's back there picking people apart from the pocket and completing 75% of his passes. If you're waiting for that to happen, you're never going to see it. You're going to be waiting a long time. But I do think he's a guy that they can do a lot of things with. I mean, you see the total offense numbers. You see where Arkansas ranks in terms of just being able to move the ball. And a lot of that is because of Taylen Green and his unique skill set. And so I think it just kind of all blends together. And so hopefully Arkansas is getting more of an idea of what he's good at, what he can do, what they can do with him. And so we'll see this kind of evolve throughout the year. But I definitely think when I watch this Arkansas offense week to week, aside from probably that UAB game, I don't look at it and say like, man, they have an issue at quarterback and like everything around them is perfect. They need a quarterback. I think this offense has some really good moments, some really good spots, and I think Taylen Green's a big part of that. And they have plenty they can clean up, and Taylen's a good part of that as well.
Are we encouraged by this being Taylen Green's lowest Pro Football Focus grade in terms of total offense and passing, and Arkansas still wins an SEC game on the road? It was kind of interesting going back and looking at those things, and I was looking at the SEC numbers for the week, and he ranked 17th out of 22 quarterbacks in the SEC who took a snap and recorded a grade at Pro Football Focus. But some of the guys he was ahead of, his backup, Malachi Singleton, the guy he was facing, Hank Brown, and the guy he faces next week in Marcel Reed. So, hey,
Yeah. Well, I feel like with Taylen, it's just got to the point to where it's, to kind of borrow a baseball analogy, but it's like he's a guy who hits home runs and strikes out. Like, that's it. It's like
the exact analogy at dinner last. I'm glad you're saying this.
Yeah.
I'll tell Michelle this. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength then, because it's like when you have a player like Taylen Green, who obviously has had his struggles and with accuracy and throwing picks or whatever. Like, obviously you want every player to be perfect. You want a player to be the jack of all trades and be great at everything. But also in a particular case, I don't think anyone was coming into this season expecting Taylen Green to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country and Heisman winner or anything. So it's like, all right, for your mistakes or what keeps you from being that great quarterback, the things that make you great or make you be serviceable, you got to be really good at that. And if that can counteract that, if that can be like, hey, I'll live with a bad throw or even a pick if it leads to you running down the field on a huge third down play or fourth down play or whatever, scrambling for 12 yards. Like, you can live with some of these things. It's just a matter of balancing it out, because the last thing you want to do is see Taylen Green get in a situation where he's just not even being able to run the ball, not even being able to do the things that he is good at in a game, because then it's going to be problematic. But I'm willing to live with Taylen Green right now, and him, having these occasions where he does make really good plays, even if he's not the most accurate quarterback that everyone's hoping for. I can live with that. Just, maybe I shouldn't use picks. Just don't turn the ball over. That's bad. But, missing wide receivers, maybe throwing the ball away, maybe not going through your reads the way, those things I can live with as long as he's making up for it in some other way of his game. There's also about Taylen, which I wanted to bring up since we're talking about him specifically. Taking hits. This one is one that I think that, he's doing the Karate Kid thing out there against Auburn. He's been, it doesn't shy away from contact. I think he slid a couple of times, but there were some times he just took it on. So Sam Pittman was talking about Taylen Green and maybe some of the issues that could come from that and him taking hits.
I think there's a fine line with him because, he tried to, I guess, run over a guy with his feet in the chest, or I don't know what it was. He tried to hurdle a guy that there was standing 6 foot tall. I don't know how you say it. And then, he'll slide at times. We really haven't talked to him about he's got to get down and all that. We have talked to him about not, someone's got him, not trying to stand up and get pelted by number 2 and 3 coming around. But we don't want to put limitations on him, I guess. But we need him to stay healthy. So there's fine lines in there, I guess.
So kind of plain and simple about putting it, where it's like, again, you got to mix it. You don't want to take away from one of his best parts of his game, but you got to keep him healthy. And we know how guys get worn down and taking hits in the SEC. That's kind of the gamble I guess you're going to have to play for Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino, living with those plays if it means he's going to be making plays as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of the scary part about it, I think, because my biggest takeaway from this game was that Arkansas probably has a pretty good idea of what their identity is offensively now, which needs to be pretty heavily focused on the run and picking your spots in the passing game. Taylen Green is going to carry the football and take more hits than I really, really wanted him to coming into the season. Like, that's just going to have to be a thing for him. And I think it's also worth noting that in the first game that they played against the defense, and Oklahoma State had some athletes and everything out there, but this is the most fast, physical defense that Arkansas has played so far. And you could tell he was hurting. I mean, he was taking some hits. He was limping around a little bit. He was taking some shots. it's only going to get amplified from here. That includes this weekend. So I do worry about that. It's a difficult thing to balance for all the reasons that Sam said, between not wanting to hinder him and letting him do his thing, but you also got to keep him healthy, because boy, if he's not out there, you really start to wonder about this offense. I don't know, man. Just be smart. He's got some tough decisions to make when he's trying to get the edge on somebody, or deciding whether to slide or, juke somebody or whatever. I would be getting down, but I'm not as tough as him. So.
Well, it's weird is going back to the offseason, when you kind of looked at what Taylen Green did at Boise State, he ran for about 600 yards in both seasons. I think he had like 11 touchdowns in his freshman year. And so we expected he was going to run. I really didn't think they were going to use him as much as a designed runner. And I will actually say, so clearly I agree, Curtis, they're going to use him in the run game. He's going to take way more hits than we necessarily wanted. But you see how this offense operates, and it's almost kind of like, not like they have to, but we get it, I guess. But the one thing I will give Taylen a little bit of credit for is we see he's play to play. He's like completely different, because you see him trying to karate kick the guy, and you see him kind of taking tacklers head on sometimes, but it's not every play. He does get out of bounds. He does slide sometimes, and Sam Pittman touched on that. And also with the way Arkansas uses him, they don't really run him between the tackles much at all. Anytime they're running those option plays, a lot of times he's getting out in space. He's getting out into where when he's getting tackled and getting hit, it's more in the open field where it's a little bit easier to avoid the blind side hit or the guy falling on your leg or anything weird like that. You still don't want him taking those hits. And I agree that like it's going to be an issue where he's going to wear down and he's going to, feel those week to week. But I do like that they're not just using him like KJ Jefferson, where he's 3rd and 1 and they're running up the middle and he's got 300-pound linemen falling on his legs. And so it's going to be a work in progress. And it's one of those, like, you only have so many bullets left in the chamber. And so we'll see how selective they are with how they decide to deploy him in the run game. But I don't think I was prepared for him to be carrying the ball 18 times a game. But I will say it does seem like, at least in the moment, sometimes he makes those decisions where he's like, all right, maybe I shouldn't cut back into the field and get tackled by 4 guys. I'll get out of bounds. And I think that you're going to see a little bit of a ramp up and stuff like that.
Well, it's also, too, I think people, it doesn't matter what you do. If something goes wrong, it's going to be the wrong decision. That's what people are going to judge. And just, if he ends up taking off running and slides a little bit sooner than what people think, they'll be like, come on, soft. Well, that's not football way it used to be. You slide and everything. But then a second that he doesn't slide and tries to get the extra yardage and he gets banged up or hurts himself, everyone's like, you idiot, why didn't you slide? I mean, no matter what happens, people are going to get mad at the result or the other thing. But to me, hey, I'm with you all. Just let Taylen be Taylen. And I think riding with Taylen, again, you want to keep him healthy, but if these are the types of plays he's going to continue to make, you don't want to take that away from him. And you don't want to be able to take away his freedom to improvise, because he can be really good at it. And it can be a huge threat and a huge weapon for Arkansas on the offense.
Yeah, so. And it's worth saying, I know we're not going to spend the entire show talking about Taylen Green, but I did want to add in there, just for more context, he has a lot of mental toughness to him. And, I think we were all wondering whether or not he got benched, there for a minute after he threw his second interception in that game. I guess he was cramping, needed fluids. I don't know, whatever. But at the end of the day, he was not playing well at all, and he looked a little bit shaken, a little bit rattled. He sets a series, he comes back in. Arkansas goes on 3 straight scoring drives, and they win the game on the road. So when they needed him the most, he delivered. It's just about being more consistent and everything like that. So
100%. And John, to your point, like back in the day, people would say, oh, back in the day, they didn't do this. Well, back in the day, you didn't have quarterbacks running the ball this much. Yeah. I mean, I know in college football, there was the wishbone and all this, but you didn't have dudes like Taylen Green at the quarterback position back in the day. And so it's a new era of football. It's where we are. And by the way, I cut you off there a little bit, Curtis, but 100%, I've watched it back 12 times. He 100% got benched. Like, let's just quit BSing. He was not getting any fluids. He was standing off and kind of had a dejected look on his face, like, oh man, they're gonna see what this guy can do. And then Malachi Singleton pissed down his leg, and that's what happened. Like, let's just be real. I'm glad that Pittman did that. We've encouraged Pittman to lie to us before, where we're like, don't tell the truth all the time. He finally implemented that advice at the post-game presser Saturday.
Well,
Coach B.
Let's say it could have been something that. Again, maybe Pittman went, hey, coach, is what's wrong with Taylen? And Petrino was like, needs fluids.
Yeah.
for one possession needs
I'll
fluids.
I'll tell you what it's
getting
not.
fluids.
I'll tell you what it absolutely was not. And I had people saying this to me in my comments. What, you don't think that they had a package put in for Singleton to come in and throw off the Auburn?
Nope.
No, they did not. Not
Nope.
with a lead on the road in the first SEC game. No, that was not the case.
No, not at all. All right, so folks,
Lagway situation.
we got a few other things that we'll get to from Sam Pittman's press conference because there's other things of note. But I do want to do this real quick because, again, we have the phone lines here on Inside Arkansas Live, 478-344-6623. We have a very special caller for the first time making his debut here on Inside Arkansas Live. Let's welcome in Eddie, who's in Clarksville. Good afternoon, Eddie.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking my call and inviting me. Let me say this. What a big win for our program. It was huge. It's changed the whole perception of our program, the whole outlook. And let me say this. I've been aboard the Hog train since I was 7 years old. I've been a part of a lot of big wins. But to me, I could not be prouder of a coaching staff. I'm so happy for Coach Pittman for persevering. I'm so happy for our players. I'm so happy for this program. Because now, watch it state. You know what's fixing to take place? I just call it, let me paint a picture for you. I'm not Michelangelo. I'm not Rembrandt. And I'm certainly not Leonardo da Vinci. But let me paint it for you. We're fixing to go to Arlington and steamroll the Aggies. And then we're coming back to Fayetteville with a whistle blowing. And listen to this picture. How great is this? College game day is going to be in Hometown, USA. A sold out capacity crowd. And let me say this, I was in the stands in 1999. Woo! When Sterner and Anthony Lucas lit up the balls, and we had it. I can't wait, because let me say this, we're going to win that game on tenacity, on our fan base, and tradition. And because we got tradition against the Vols, we beat them the last 3 times, we're going to beat them again. So click yeah, Apparel Smith. Woo! Sweet emotion, baby. How about that?
Love it.
Well, thanks, Eddie. It's good to hear from you. Can't wait to see what transpires from that, and hopefully the team gets the message as well as the fan base.
Man, I've been listening to those phone calls for years and years and years.
Yep.
But to be on the other end of it, it feels good, man. We made it.
It's nostalgic for me, man.
Oh,
like
man.
I always loved it when Eddie called in, and we appreciate Eddie and everything. He's still got it after, what has it been, a decade? Like now, still got it.
He still got it, and he has Arkansas beating Tennessee college game day, which everyone's already kind of done the math and realized if Arkansas wins this week, they might be getting that college game day. I got to say, though, guys, I've been reading the comments and I listened to Eddie. Is Texas A&M now a trap game for Arkansas? Because I feel like everyone is talking about Tennessee. Why? Yeah, everybody's talking about the Tennessee game, which, like, I get, it's the big one on your schedule coming up. But, like, man, if you lose this A&M game, all of a sudden it gets right back into that little bit of a sketchy situation. I mean, I know Arkansas is an underdog, but why is nobody talking about A&M? Everybody's talking about Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Let's moving over. You're not moving over any SEC games. You can't afford to. You're not good enough to do that. So, but
that would be the fitting. That would honestly be very fitting for this program in its current state to be like looking past Texas A&M, who you're like 5-point underdogs against.
Yes, yeah, looking past them for Tennessee, the team that comes down. Which, by the way, real quick. Officially has been announced for a 6 or 6:30 p.m. kick. So we got a night game. We're going to have 2 night games in Fayetteville this year, folks. And it is against Tennessee, and LSU's already been confirmed that it will be a night game. So for all of you who love those night games, there you go. Tennessee's definitely going to be one.
What do we think about?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do we think about that spread, that opening line against Texas A&M?
Well, it's moved a good bit now towards the Arkansas side. Yeah, I saw yesterday. I think I saw it was at 6.
That's what it opened at 6.
And now on BetSaracen, at least it's at 3.5. I've seen 4.5 other places. Like it's been a steady kind of working its way down there.
I think A&M, they've been underwhelming. I also think that they're the most talented team, probably by a significant margin, that Arkansas has played this year. So it's gonna be interesting.
They're pretty well rounded. I was looking a little bit at A&M today. Like they don't really have all these gaps that you're like, oh, they're bad here, they're bad there, but they're also not like super great in any area. The only thing I would say that their pass rush is going to be an issue. But I think on paper, like I think what it is you just have an adult, normal SEC team in A&M, whereas Arkansas is a little bit of the X factor in this matchup because you have no idea what you're getting from Arkansas. Whereas A&M, you kind of know you're getting a pretty well-rounded football team, talent everywhere. Arkansas could rise to the occasion and beat them by 10 or lose by 10. Like, I really would not be surprised either way.
Yeah, that's where it's kind of like with this game. I do not care about stats. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about previews. I don't care about spreads. I don't care because no other year has it ever mattered. It has never mattered in any other year.
If we thought Saturday was drunk.
Oh my goodness, dude! Like the amount of games that, at least the only theme that's been about this game is that Arkansas has a lead and they blow it. Like that's kind of been the main deal. They have a lead, sometimes a sizable lead. One of them 2-score leads that they've been working on. But it always gets blown. So who cares? Who knows? I don't really know what to make of it, but there'll be plenty of time to talk about that through the week when it comes to A&M. But I did want to bring this up too from Sam Pittman's press conference. We'll get to some of your chats, folks, as well as some other things. But Rashad Dubinion apparently is suspended indefinitely.
I'm sorry. We have suspended Rashad Dubinion for indefinitely for violation of team rules as well. Okay.
That's all you get. Okay. But Rashad Dubinion suspended indefinitely.
Well, I mean, that I think that answers some of the questions that maybe we had, because for the longest we were thinking, okay, well, he's not 100% healthy. He's got to get back to full practice. And maybe that was the case. But then he wasn't on those injury reports all last week. And then obviously didn't play in Saturday's game. And now he's suspended. So don't know why, but there you go.
Are we going to go ahead and say first reported by Andrew Ellis? Because the other day I kind of floated a theory that something weird was going on. I couldn't put my finger on it, as Hutch would say. But, like, it reached a point where if you were reading between the lines of Sam Pittman's comments, like, it was no longer an injury thing, but he also was no closer to, like, playing. Like, I didn't think it would be a team violations. I wonder what the team rule that he violated was. But I think we kind of assumed at this point that, like, okay, this is no longer just a hamstring that's bothering him a little bit. But, yeah, not the most stunning news because, like, we figured something was going on, but a little bit weird, man, especially for a guy that seemed to be, like, all in. And he even tweeted a funny meme after they beat Auburn, making fun of the, Tigger from from Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. That was a great tweet. And so I was like, oh yeah, it's, R-Dub's not playing, but he's still thrilled.
Hey,
I know he's there on the trip.
Backup RB is Braylon Russell's world now.
That is right.
Seems to be the case.
Yeah, because they've been utilizing him more, and so he'll be there. But for those of you who were just wondering about Rashad Dubinion, having a time where he's not really played much, that probably has something to do with it. But another player, though, that hasn't been seen much, but at least maybe not in the box score, but he has been on the field, has been, of course, Luke Hasz. And this is something that we've talked about, and everybody has. Crazy that you're 4 games into the year, you're a third of the way through the season, which is really sad to say, but really have not seen much from Luke Hasz when considering in the first 4 games last year, dude was on pace to have one of the best freshman years you could have for a tight end. Well, Sam Pittman was asked about his lack of production. Here's what he had to say.
So I think a bunch of it is we're not protecting the quarterback, as well as we should, and he's running all over the place. I think once we can protect him better, I think Luke will show up a bunch. I talked to Coach Petrino about that today, as a matter of fact, and we have several plays where he's the target. Just so sometimes the play's called and the quarterback's running all over the place. We know how valuable he is, and we're certainly trying to use that value. We'd be silly not to. And I just think, in all honesty, I think on his particular, he's the first read. For some reason, we've had protection breakdowns.
So, Andrew, I'll let you take this because I know you're fired up by it, but do you buy that?
So, I guess, but not really. Because I also just don't feel like he's only been targeted like 4 or 5 times. And I know Taylen's been sacked a little bit here and there, but proportionately, if you're just doing the proportions, he's been targeted like a third of the times that Tyrone Broden's been targeted. So maybe you could argue that whole gap is due to protection issues or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I think that it's one of those things that they look back after every game and they're like, damn, we should have targeted Luke Hasz more. And they look back after this game, oh, damn, we should have targeted Luke Hasz more. And now he's finally starting to talk to Bobby about it. But it seems like every week they have a different reason for why he hasn't been targeted. It's like there's 30 passes that you throw each game. And literally like once every quarter, maybe he's even like on the field in a passing down. He also later mentioned his run blocking where he's like, he's a better player than he was a year ago. And so, like, I know the stats don't show it, but he's a better player. I just don't see the correlation there either because his work in the run game means literally nothing in the pass game. And he's actually statistically on PFF one of Arkansas's worst pass protectors, but they hold him in as a pass blocker sometimes, which never makes any sense. Now, run blocking, he is one of their best run blockers, but wouldn't that make you want to reward him more? Like, I don't understand why he cited that as like, he's like, I know he's not catching passes, but great run blocker though. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing where I just don't want to keep talking about this really.
Well, here's my only thought. And this is what it boils down to me. As soon as I heard him say that, like, okay, if you want to blame it on protection and everything, fine. But Arkansas had the worst offensive line in the country last season, and he was still targeted plenty of times. Are you telling me that Dan Enos is better at getting Luke Hasz the football than Bobby Petrino? I'm not buying it. It's a better offensive line. I get it. They're having some struggles, but there are ways to get the dude the ball, period.
And that's the thing.
Taylen Green is more elusive than KJ Jefferson getting away from it. So, come on now.
I almost wish that Sam would push back and be like, guys, like we call our plays and we have our offense, our scheme. And, he just hasn't been a factor in it. And like that, it is what it is. They didn't even play him in the second half. Like he only played like 2 snaps in the second half. Like that's a fact. You can go look this stuff up. They played Varkey's Gums more than him in the second half. And so I don't want to hear crap about, it's just the protection and the whatever. It's just blatant lies. Like I almost wish, because I feel like it reminds me a little bit of the Nudie thing, where I feel like the actual answer is something that none of us know. Like it has to be some type of scheme relation or teams are keying in on him or whatever. But like, why would you not play him in the second half and then be like, well, protection? Like, I don't know. It just feels a little fishy to me.
Yeah, to me, it might be just trying to save face a little bit in the public eye of, when we got players hitting transfer portals and, kind of looking at social media, one of those things where it's like, hey, we're trying to get him the ball, even if it's not true. We're trying to, but and he is a better player, like being very complimentary in the wave. Like he is a better player. He's been doing this. Is almost just in the public eye to not have people in his ear or not have, teams, which I know no team would ever tamper ever in college football, but teams that suddenly hitting them up, hey man, you're not playing and they're not playing you. You need to come over here. I think it's more of just trying to save face just for the current landscape of college football. But yeah, I've always felt like no matter what, especially if you're Bobby Petrino or whoever, if you have a great player, you find ways to get him the ball. There's just no... I don't buy anything else. If you have a great player, you find a way to get him the ball because there are about, last time I checked, you can be about as creative as you want to be when it comes to all offenses. So if you have someone like Luke Hasz who is that good, even if I don't forget protections, okay, then find something where protections isn't as important to get him the ball. Just, I feel like it's that simple. But you just not seeing him play, and then, because Sam Pittman's going to get asked about it. If they go to A&M, even if they win, and they see that Luke Hasz once again had 2 targets, 1 catch for 5 yards, he's going to get asked about it again, and we'll see if he comes up with the same answer. I don't know.
Hey,
it's just weird.
Clint said, if I see that stupid bootleg pass to the flats to Hasz one more time, show me that about 10 more times
the whole year.
Listen, if the Blake Kern treatment is the only way to get him the football, do it. I don't care. Yeah. I just throw him the ball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're anti-rollout passes now with the quarterback that throws well on the run and an All-American tight end. We're anti-rollout. How many times have you seen it? He's only been targeted 5 times the entire damn year. What are you talking about if I have to see it one more time? You've never seen it. Like, what are you talking about? What?
Yeah. I would have never guessed that, like, Kendall Briles utilizing Blake Kern would be a more of a thing than Bobby Petrino in the offense utilizing not only just Luke Hasz, but even Ty Washington or whoever. Which I'm sad that I didn't get the clip, and I'm really apologetic for that. But we did have an update on Andreas Poski from this past press conference, so the 4th string tight end, thank goodness. But either way, it doesn't make sense. It's weird. But who knows? Maybe this will be the game. It's kind of what it's going to be. Maybe this will finally be the game that he comes out and has a nice successful run there. But still very, very, very strange there.
Clint says it was horribly executed. Well, maybe that's why they haven't gone to it the entire season, because they don't execute it well. That must be it.
Yeah, I won't have to play the clip, but it seems like from what Sam Pittman said that Jalen Braxton looks like he's going to be back. I think, as you put up on InsideArkansas.com
I heard that a week ago.
Yeah,
interestingly enough.
He's on he's DB1, if you want to call there a cornerback one. So he's on the depth chart there. And I guess Hudson Clark is considered questionable. Is that what he said, or was it doubtful?
Probable.
Or probable. Sorry.
Like they're going to get them both back.
Okay, so that's big. That's big for going up there.
I believe that when I see it. I mean, he literally he damn near said Braxton was going to play last week, and then the injury report comes out 36 hours later, and he's listed as out already. Like, it's almost like it was never in the cards. But I hope so, man. I really do, because and it's one thing me and Andrew talked a lot about, like on the report card, is if you get Braxton, especially back to lock down that number one corner spot, then, I feel really good about Marquise Robinson being a number two, like a solid, reliable number two corner in the SEC. And then you're pretty good there. And like Sam mentioned, Keon Stewart, who we don't talk about that much, but yeah, he played pretty decent in that game. And so, Singletary wasn't his best performance out there, but whatever. But getting Braxton back, I feel like changes a lot for a secondary that, in fairness, I know Auburn has big time quarterback issues, but man, they were ball hawking all over the place without the no-fly zone himself.
I know. I don't know how they did it.
It only gets better from here.
Don't know how they went through it.
Hopefully they'll have Jalen Braxton back to guard Mr. Bussy, as Sam described him earlier.
Is it Bussy?
But yeah,
Bussy?
worth noting, Hudson Clark is from the Dallas area.
It's true.
Right? And Jalen Braxton is from Frisco, Texas. And so, yeah, I wonder if they're dying. And Jalen Braxton, I want to say, either scored a touchdown or had a pick or did something last year in Cowboy Stadium. So, yeah, I believe those two guys will be highly motivated. I mean, yeah, if you
sounds
think
like
about,
two of your four captains.
Yeah, dude, I was just about to say that.
Sounds exactly like it. Jaquin Jackson is a third for sure. I mean, there you go. Probably, I guess Taylen's from Texas as well. There you go.
We just named it, man.
First reported here. Those are your four captains. But yeah, you think about the step forward that Arkansas took as a secondary this past week, going from like the biggest area of concern to an A+ performance, as Curtis and I got him. And so, yeah, I'm excited, but I'm like you, Curtis, waiting till Wednesday before we get that official injury report, which is going to be electric. We count down the minutes till 7 p.m. on Wednesday.
Because he also said they came out of the game. Well, he said he didn't anticipate any of the guys who got dinged up during the game not being able to play this weekend. I'm going to be very, very, interested to see what that injury report looks like on Wednesday, because that was a physical game. Like, I wonder how Andrew Armstrong felt. I understand adrenaline and everything, but after that hit, my ribs are sore. So, Taylen was limping around. I think they'll both play, but it'll be interesting to see the names that show up on that list.
Can't wait. I cannot wait. And it's going to be so great to be like, all right, so who's actually going to end up who did we get lied to about? Who was who they do the misdirection on? That'll be a great thing there.
I guess Taylen Green can't be a captain because the chat's wanting to bench him still. Also, I love Jeff saying nobody is talking about Green nearly killing people with a couple of bad throws. Yeah, I feel like that's famously not talked about, other than the fact that we spent the first 30 minutes of the show talking about it.
Yeah, you can't have like that type of thing, man. Like you just can't, because that was a scary moment with Andrew Armstrong when he got lit up. Like,
by the way, he's from Texas too, right? Armstrong.
Everybody's from Texas. Like, I mean,
the whole team's from Texas. I don't know.
Jaquin Jackson, everybody.
Who else? I know Armstrong took a shot. Kind of because of that. I know Rodney Hill. Business a couple times. There was somebody else. I can't remember who it was. There were only like 2.5 receivers targeted. So maybe it was Broden or something. I don't know. But
yeah, I know Broden actually, the best throw Taylen made all day was to Broden, not a hospital ball where he just didn't catch it. But no, did Satania get his head lit off once?
Maybe.
Probably so.
I mean, it had to have been him. The only other person they threw to was CJ Brown.
It was Gums. No, it was Gums. I just see the chat come in. It was Gums. It was definitely
right.
Gums.
On his
one
target.
When I realized, why are they targeting Gums? Where's Luke Hasz? gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, it was gone.
Always count on the chat to come through in the clutch. We'll get to some of your chats, folks, here in a second, but I do want to talk about the question of the day here on Inside Arkansas Live. It is sponsored by Alumni Hall in Fayetteville, which we're going to be over there Thursday for Inside Arkansas live on location. We'll have some more details for you to pitch in on that, but the greatest place to get all of your Razorback apparel right there at 3417 North College Avenue. You can also shop them online at alumnihall.com. Any of the coach apparel, jerseys, hats, the finest of Southern Tide, Columbia, Tommy Bahama, Peter Millar, Nike, they got it all in the greatest of Razorback apparel. So check it out at alumnihall.com. You can visit them also on their location, conveniently located on North College Avenue, right here in Fayetteville. So I will admit the question that I asked there in the graphic is kind of an encompassing thing, because it's kind of hard to do a poll question in the chat for people, because you can't just be like, I'll like A or B. But essentially what it was on Twitter, what I asked was, how many more SEC games will Arkansas win this football season? Just very plain and simple. You won 1. You got 7 left. You're 1-0. How many more games? I don't know if you guys looked at it, but what do you think is the number leading the way? It was 0, 1, 2, or 3+. Which one do you think?
2 and 3 were leading the way last I checked.
It's right now 2 is leading the way at 50% exactly. And second is 3+ at 41%. And if you don't think Razorback fans have been drinking that Kool-Aid right now, boys, I don't know what else to tell you. So basically, according to this poll question, Razorback faithful feel great so much that they have 92% of them feel like they're going to win at least 3 SEC games this football season. Amazing how that works out.
I think... Well, because they have now won a game that I didn't project them to win. So like they're a game ahead of what I had picked going into the season. I think they're going to make a bowl now. I do. Like that,
Yep.
that obviously. I mean, but that changes it to me. I think that they split A&M and LSU. I don't know how that goes, but I think that's the case. They could win both of those games. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely could. But I think they split that. Boy, if they lose to Mississippi State,
Shut it down.
awful, and now their quarterback's out for the season, who is like their one notable player on that roster. And so, yeah, I mean, 2 is there, and there's going to be fair game for some other ones. You beat Louisiana Tech, you beat Mississippi State, you beat A&M or LSU, you get to 6, you go to a bowl. And that seems very, very doable to me. But I have no doubt that they're going to be in position to win some of these other games too. I mean, who has been really, I mean, it's been Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee have all looked really, really, really good. Everybody else, though, looks beatable. I mean, like Vanderbilt just went into Missouri and should have won that game. It was like the dudes on College Game Day that they let go out there and try to kick the field goal there at the end, you know, and he misses it. But if they can do that, Arkansas can, right? So,
yeah. So preseason, I had 6 wins, and I had them beating Oklahoma State and losing to Auburn preseason. In real life, once the moment came, I picked them to win both games, and they split. But I still am kind of in that 6-6 mode. Here's what I think about the Missouri game, by the way, because I think they're a little bit of an X factor. I know that game's way far away. I don't think Arkansas is going to beat Missouri unless they're like really highly motivated and like really like they're on their P's and Q's and they're like really locked in. So I think if Arkansas has 6 wins going into that Missouri game, they're going to lose that game. It's just kind of the way that Arkansas has operated over the last decade. And in that matchup, I can think of 2 in particular. Like 2014, they beat Ole Miss 30-0 the week before to clinch bowl eligibility. So they laid an egg against Missouri. They laid an egg in 2016 after clinching bowl eligibility the week before. I want to say in 2022, they clinched bowl eligibility, beating Ole Miss, laid an egg against Missouri. And so on paper, I know people are probably throwing that one in as a toss-up. I think if Arkansas has their 6 wins by then, which I believe they will, they're going to lose that game. And so I think you can look at it as, okay, LSU and A&M are like, or LSU and Mississippi State, they're borderline favored to win. Mississippi State, for sure, they will be favored in that game unless some weird happens. And so you look at the rest of them, you're like, all right, well, so then A&M, Ole Miss, Texas, you just got to win one. But I don't view those games really as toss-ups, especially Ole Miss and Texas. Like, I think those are a little bit steep. I don't know. I don't see them beating A&M and LSU. So I agree with Curtis. Like, I think we're in the same kind of mode there. Like, because it just comes down to like this team kind of rises and or lowers themselves to whatever bar they need to reach. And so I feel like if they beat A&M, they're going to lay an egg against LSU. If they beat or if they lose to A&M, then maybe they'll get up for that LSU game. But I don't see them winning both.
Man, listen, it's like the A&M game is the same thing with the Missouri game, where it's just like, Arkansas can win. Maybe they should win, but I'm not going to believe they will because it's just how that game goes every time. But man, if they found a way to beat A&M, this fan base, they're going to be obnoxious, like really horrible. And going into the Tennessee game, and then suddenly they're going to think they're going to go in and beat Tennessee, which is a great feeling. Like, I'm not like hating anybody for doing that, but it's just so weird because the SEC is really weird right now. Like, no one really knows, other than the couple teams, who's good. We know who's bad, and luckily for Arkansas, they have a couple of those bad teams on their schedule. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I still had them at 7-5, and I'm still in play for 7-5. So I'll hold on to that. But just amazing how even after an ugly game, an ugly win like that against Auburn, people were hyped up and excited. Because I think if we would have asked the same question last week, people probably would have been like 1, maybe 2. Because that's kind of the cool thing too. Last year you had 1 SEC win. You've already matched it. You've done it.
There you go. From
the very beginning. You can move on and move forward with it. So, all right. So, of course, we've been talking a lot about Arkansas and being from Sam Pittman's press conference and kind of moving forward to get some of the chats in here. Appreciate and shout out to, of course, Walmart. Gave us an NIL today for our super chats.
Another shipment came in.
Yep.
Right, listen, Walmart, keep those coming. I mean, and if you want to, maybe pass along some stock towards us, we'll take that too. Some get in the stock market with you, but we appreciate that. And Nathan says, with his super chat, says, have we hit on Dubinion yet? Sorry, just tuning in. Yes, we did hit on it a little bit, but I mean, there's really no details that we can get into because we don't know. It's just kind of
violated the team rules. And as we know, you can't do that.
Yep. The quickest thing that'll get you in trouble, violating the team rules for that. Pooh Bear to plug in our chat. So I was talking about Taylen Green. Says the only worry I have about his accuracy at this point is he's going to continue to throw guys into car collisions. The bar has been set, but how durable are we right now?
Well, we'll see. And it's a valid point. Like, I don't know, big picture or whatever, because Arkansas is not deep. Yeah. This is not a deep football team. So like if you got all your dudes out there, then you're talented enough, good enough to be competitive with most teams on the schedule. But if you start getting, too far into the depth, it's going to be problematic. They have 1.5 wide receivers and 0 tight ends apparently. So you don't want to throw those guys into tough situations and lose the ones that you can rely on, no doubt.
For sure. Like, they can't afford to do that. And I mean, Taylen's accuracy is going to continue to be a thing we talk about. I got to be honest though, guys, am I like stupid for just thinking that some of it was kind of a little bit of a weird coincidence that they had 3 hospital balls that kind of ended up happening on Saturday? Because it hasn't been a thing that's been going on all year. And I know Auburn's the best defense they've played, but am I stupid for just kind of like not viewing that as a massive storyline?
I mean,
I understand you don't want to keep throwing guys hospital balls, but I don't know if that's like a trait of this offense. I think it's a thing that kind of happened in bunches Saturday.
Yeah. I think it's just more because it happened so often in that game. It's like you just don't want it to become a trend. It's not a trend. You just don't want it to become one. So I think that's more of it. Because also I want to address this because this is kind of dealing with Brady. Says, was it true Auburn coaches were celebrating with Andrew on the ground? Here's the thing. I was
on the ground for a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, I saw people bringing this up to me on Saturday and everything. Obviously, you want to make sure players are okay. There's about sportsmanship and everything like that. But you also got to remember these are coaches, and that was a great legal hit. In fact, in this day and age in football especially, like those hits do not exist because almost all of them will be called for targeting. But credit where it's due. That was a great legal hit that anybody would celebrate on that. So now if you led with his helmet and took his head off and it was okay, then yeah, maybe that's probably, but that was worth celebrating. I don't think those Auburn, I'm not maybe speaking for them, but those Auburn staffers and coaches, they weren't doing it because they're like, oh man, screw you kid on the ground. You just got rocked, doing the Chris Rock thing from Friday. Like, no, it wasn't that. It was just a great hit. So I have no problem with that.
It also happened right by the Auburn sideline, like literally right there.
Yeah. So I didn't have an issue with that at all. So I like this from Fishman. He says, the Vols offense looked human this week. So now people are even feeling better about Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma is one of the best defenses in the country, and they went on the road and had that game 22-3, like before you could blink, and then they just didn't have to do a damn thing the rest of the game. Like that's not human. If they wanted to, they could have ran that thing up. They didn't need to. There was no need.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think Tennessee's as a team looks more dangerous than ever because I agree. Like they're gonna have much easier games offensively. Like they're gonna move the ball with more ease against other teams. And Oklahoma's pretty limited offensively, but man, Tennessee's got a real defense, and their offense is only going to get better. That freaking Nico kid. I was looking at the SEC releases today, and I saw if he was the freshman of the week, and I'm like, gosh, dang, that kid's a freshman. I forgot about that because he really's only been there for, I guess, last year he was a redshirt, and this year he's a freshman. Yeah, that offense is going to get scarier and scarier if I had to guess.
Yeah, and they've got a bye week, so if they're dinged up from all these games, they're going to be able to heal up and come in fresh. And I think Arkansas better hope that they've got a little bit of a slow start factor for having not played in a couple weeks, because Arkansas is going to be super fatigued and banged up for that game. I mean,
we're coming off a big win where they just lay it on A&M and they're up 49-3 and they get to rest everyone at halftime, or that.
Yeah, that'll happen, I'm sure. Just go ahead and book it.
I don't know what was worse, John's negativity the other day or that particular just cup overflowing of Kool-Aid from you.
Sometimes the Kool-Aid between us three, man, there's a lot of variations that happened.
Only one person is allowed to hold the cup at all times. So
we pass it around.
Yeah.
We share the wealth,
Yeah. Sometimes we'll waste it. Like if Curtis has got the full thing of Kool-Aid and he passes it to me and I'm pissed, I'll pour out about half of it and then give it to Andrew, and then he'll refill it a little bit, or vice versa. It just depends. It just depends on how we're feeling and the flavors of all of it. Sometimes a little rat poison gets thrown in there. But speaking of that, though, I did want to say real quick for Arkansas Update presented by Davison Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. Congratulations, TJ Metcalf was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Great performance against Auburn. He did, which I didn't realize until I looked back at the box score, because I completely forgot that he was the one that forced that fumble that ended up being crucial. With it looked like Auburn was about to score and went to the end zone. But he had 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, a pass breakup in this game, and so definitely deserving of it. So kudos to him for TJ Metcalf stepping up as secondary player, stepping up for other guys that have been injured and able to get the SEC Player of the Week.
They got it right.
Yeah, it's like because the simulation we had last week, guys. I'm just saying. May not be a perfect of what it was, an accurate representation, but the win-loss record is the same on the simulation as it is in real life right now. So just saying, maybe we need to go with that. But Isaiah Satania was our true player of the week from last week's performance there.
Yeah. The SEC should have given him some type of recognition. I mean, if you count the simulation and the real game, 6 touchdowns. I think it was like 200 yards combined. Like that's big time stuff. TJ Metcalf, I got to be honest, guys, I didn't know about the Auburn not offering him out of high school and him taking that a little bit personally. Because I mean, he was a pretty solid recruit, so I just assumed Auburn had offered him. But yeah, that's a cool little storyline for his little performance.
That Jordan stuff, and that's when I took it personally. It was his personal game there. Also, Ace comes in. He's saying, "I listened to this show because you guys have quote sources. We need the inside scoop." I think not to end. It doesn't matter.
I do not have a source telling me why Rashad Dubinion got suspended.
Yeah, I don't have that for you. Wish we did though.
You can find that at one of the many great outlets across the state.
Yeah. But the shows of record that are out there that only deal in facts.
Yeah, hey, Chuck and Bo's the most popular show in the state this week, buddy.
It's about the facts, man. It's about the facts.
Kool-Aid. You think our Kool-Aid's flowing, man? They got some extra sugar in theirs right now. I can tell you that. Jeremy says, John, this is a huge game against A&M. If we can win this game, Sam's seat will cool off. Lose, and Sam will deservedly to be right back on it, 4-1 against Tennessee, and we give them all we want. Well, I mean, if the people who are out there talking about Sam being fired, not being fired, whatever, if he beats Texas A&M and Arkansas is 2-0 in the SEC, yeah, anything can happen the rest of the way, but you're talking about starting 4-1, 2 more wins to get to a bowl game, which you feel like you got 2 of them for sure on the schedule with Louisiana Tech as well as Mississippi State. Sam Pittman's not getting fired. It ain't happening if he beats Texas A&M. Like, maybe does he retire? Does he step away? Maybe, but yeah, I think the hot seat cools dramatically because you went away and win 2 SEC games and it's doubled up of what you did a year ago. So
it's a huge win for him, man. Huge win for Sam Pittman.
Kind of going off of that comment though, can we do a re-updated power ranking of the SEC hot seat? Because I know preseason it was like Napier 1, Pittman 2. Who are the hottest? I mean, Napier's still very high up there in terms of hot seat. Who's the top 3 SEC hot seats right now?
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, man. Hugh Freeze. But is Hugh Freeze going to get fired in year 2, though?
No, I mean, I wouldn't think so, but Auburn fans are insane. They're insane. Because didn't they fire Brian Harsin after 2 years?
They did. And he did make a bowl game in his first year.
But, I mean, those would be the only ones that I would be looking at right now as hot seat guys.
Still like going to be lingering a little bit because I looked at South Carolina's schedule today. They play like pretty much a murderer's row the next like 8 weeks. So South Carolina could lose like 7 of their next 8 games, in which case Beamer would be. I don't even think they have 8 games left, but they could lose 7 of 8. Actually, no, they do. But I think they have a FCS opponent with the second to last week, but they really will be the underdog in almost every single game they play.
I know we're going to get into best and worst of the weekend, sponsored by the Leroy, which we're going to be at tonight again, folks, 6 p.m. So come pull up and hang out with us. It's always a great time to do that. But before we do that, let's go back to the phone lines. We got Pooh Bear to plug, who's on the line. What's up, Pooh Bear?
What's going on, gentlemen?
How we doing?
Good, man. Good. I've seen a lot of good things that I've seen in that game. Personally, I've been dogging Taylen Green probably longer than anyone because I've watched as much film as I could find, which I've struggled to find high school film on him, by the way. But, man, the interceptions, I'm okay with. Go ahead. Go throw you 2 picks. Go run for 2 picks, too. And as long as you throw 1 passing touchdown and you don't fumble the ball, not one of our offensive players fumbled the ball. And I think that was the biggest thing that I took away was, our receivers getting, stroked out in traffic. Pause. But, not one of them fumbled. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway that I personally take. That was the thought that I was worried about the most was Taylen getting an open field and getting hogged down by an SEC linebacker, and fumbling the ball. Nah, he's out here karate kidding, kicking kids. I mean, it's fun to watch, man. It truly is. And I think we're going to beat A&M. I can't wait. So appreciate the call, man. Y'all have a blessed day. Y'all hit that like button.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Pooh Bear.
Yeah. That's some good points on Taylen Green. And that's why I wrote the story that I did today. And it was titled that it's time to embrace the Taylen Green experience. It just is, man. And like I said in the lead, I mean, roller coasters are not for everybody, but Razorback fans better learn to love them because that's what you're going to get. And we've talked about it enough to where there's obviously a lot of things got to work on and stuff that he does. It makes you want to rip your hair out. But man, he's there's just this playmaking thing to him, and he's just always a threat. And so I'm all for it. And yeah, I mean, I would rather him not throw 2 picks a game, but so yeah, work on limiting those mistakes and everything. But at the end of the day, he gives you the best chance to win by far at the quarterback position. But there's also something to be said for just the dynamic he brings to the offense, whether he's having success or not. It changes the way that coordinators have to defend Arkansas, and whether Green's playing well or not. It actually does, I think, open things up for other guys on that offense, whether it's the running backs, receivers, or whatever. So much attention has to be played to him because he gives you a puncher's chance to make a huge play at all times.
Yeah, so he's got 4 picks in 4 games now, which is not ideal. But if you look back at his career, I believe he had 15 picks in 2 seasons at Boise State. So it's not like he's like just this Brett Favre gunslinger who's throwing an insane amount of interceptions. I would like for him to cut it down, but as much as we talk about the inaccuracy, if he doesn't throw interceptions, I really don't have much. Like I can live with the 56% or the whatever it is. I feel like Arkansas, when they don't turn the ball over, have such a high floor offensively for a lot of those reasons that you detailed, Curtis, that like one, his legs are always going to be a factor, whether it's 3rd and 3, whatever, all eyes have to be on him a little bit. they have this weird knack for just making the big plays, like you said. And so I think, with their run game, with some of the weapons they have, a safety blanket in Armstrong, potentially Luke Hasz, Isaiah Satania. Like, I just feel like Arkansas has so many answers, and you have the Bobby Petrino X factor too. I just feel like as long as Taylen Green's not turning the ball over, I mean, really, like, I don't think people should be complaining like at all.
No, I agree. To me, Taylen Green at this point in time is just like, you're at a bar with a bunch of people and someone buys a round of shots and you're like, what is this? And they're like, just wait, you'll like it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know if you will or not. There's a chance you will, but there's also a chance you won't, and it'll make you feel weird. So, but it's just like sour milk. Sometimes you just got to take a whiff and you just got to see what happens afterwards.
Well, I'm really anxious to see what kind of adjustments Bobby Petrino makes to this offense now. Like maybe getting him on the move a little bit more to throw the football instead of this thing where they try to make him a pocket passer more maybe than they should. But then maybe you could avoid, like, if he's not a very accurate quarterback, then why are you throwing so much on first down and just automatically putting yourselves behind the 8 ball? Like, that's a reason why they keep running into these 3rd and long situations that he just has a way of making a play on, but you could make it a little bit more advantageous for yourself if you make some of these tweaks. And that's kind of what I was getting at when I said, I think they probably have a good idea of what their identity is going to be moving forward, and they'll probably mold things around that. But I would imagine we'll start seeing some adjustments like that, and maybe that'll lead to some more success. And he's going to throw the ball, but he's going to have his games where he's kind of slinging it. Yeah, certainly better than 44%. And it's like a law of averages thing. So I think, like, man, he has really not been good at all in 2 games without even thinking about the Texas A&M standpoint of it or knowing anything about their secondary. I'm automatically like, he's probably going to throw it better against them. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's just what my mind says.
Indoors, ball's going to be flying.
Come on now.
Before we go back to phone lines, because again, I know we got to squeeze a lot in here in just a little bit, but what do you think about this, Curtis? Kingsley coming in saying Taylen Green is the JD Note of Arkansas football.
He might be, man.
I love that.
Not efficient at all, but he's the dude, and there's no denying it whatsoever.
6 of 17 from the floor, but 9 of 10 from the free throw line, and like when the game's on the line, you're okay with it. It's like, it's gonna work out.
Yeah, like throws 8. He has 8 steals. Like just random things like that may not be great in the percentages, but he's great in other things too. I believe this might be the first time that we've talked to this guy here on Inside Arkansas Live. I could be wrong, but Unbiased Brim is on the line. Yeah. What's up, Unbiased Brim?
Hello, gentlemen. I'm glad that we don't have Evil John Neighbors today, because last week was Evil John Neighbors, because, we didn't perform that well, even though we got the win. Shout out to Curtis and Andrew. Y'all takes are phenomenal. The last caller, though, we can't be comfortable with interceptions. I think the 2 most important components to us winning these games and having a chance against the teams that most of us don't think we have a chance against is line play from offensive defensive line and turnovers. We win the turnover battle, we give ourselves a chance in every single game. Every game. Mm-hmm. So the key component is not turn the ball over and turn the other teams over. It's to me, it's almost that simple. And yes, Taylen Green is not accurate in the pocket. They should be moving the pocket. They shouldn't move the pocket. And I expect to see that this weekend, where they're going to be moving the pocket for Taylen Green. They're going to start adjusting a little bit more to his strengths so we can have a passing game. Because I don't want to turn into a wishbone team. But right now, we're looking like a wishbone team almost, The whole thing with Hasz, it does bother me to some degree. But I think we all understand why Hasz is not as involved in the offense, is because we're having troubles in the passing game with Taylen Green being comfortable and confident in his throws. And even though Andrew said it wasn't a big deal that, some of the receivers got smashed, I think that will hurt Taylen, though, in his confidence to lead his receivers properly to make those plays. Because that's the thing. He's held on to the ball too long, and he's questioning some of the throws, and he should just be throwing these guys open. Don't throw ice cream floaties. Zip that ball in there. Lead your receiver. Have confidence in your guys so they can make the play. Not just Armstrong. Have confidence in your guys. And I think if Taylen can be able to do that, he'll have some better performances. But Taylen Green is who Taylen Green is. We got to take the good and the bad. He has a phenomenal upside, but he has downsides as well. So he might get his 2 touchdowns, but then turn around and throw a bad interception. That's going to come with it. So we just have to mitigate those situations, play sound football, and win the turnover battle. And believe it or not, we will have a chance against Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri. I don't think a single team on our schedule is that good where it's just a foregone conclusion that we're going to lose. I mean, Tennessee looks really good, but last time I checked, Tennessee chokes it away every single year since the former days. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Tennessee is going to just run the score up on us. We just got to play the game. And I think if we beat Texas A&M, get ready for game day to come to Fayetteville the next week. If you look at the schedule, guys, if we beat A&M, college game day may be in Fayetteville next week.
Man, wouldn't that be something if that happened? And that's why, not to say just because of game day, but just think about the energy and the ultimate 180 that every fan would do from what it was a few weeks ago if they beat A&M heading into that Tennessee game. I mean, the excitement would be palpable. Is that what they say?
Palpable buzz.
It'll be a ranked team, I'll tell you that much.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
A&M's 24 right now, so if they win, I feel like they'll get them in there, and then they'll get the TV bump because a lot of people will be doing the same math you're doing and be like, oh, if we make Arkansas number 20, then all of a sudden this number 4 versus number 20 has a little bit more juice to it. So I buy all that, man. And I like what you said about the turnovers. I mean, just statistically throughout football, it's kind of proven. You win the turnover battle, you have like an 80% chance to win. And so you take that into account with what Arkansas is able to do in the run game and a lot of these matchups. Again, like I said before, right before you called in, I was saying I think Arkansas has such a high floor offensively if Taylen Green doesn't turn the ball over. And I ultimately will just kind of come back to the Hasz thing. I just think Hasz, I view him as a safety blanket, not on the same level of Andrew Armstrong as a receiver. It's a little bit different there. He's not like a one-on-one coverage type of guy, but I just feel like Hasz is a safety, is a guy that you should be able to just kind of dump it off to. You shouldn't have to try and force feed him the way that they're trying to force feed Tyrone Broden. I feel like Hasz is almost like the guy they should be leaning on a little bit more just to give Taylen some of those easy throws, those just in the flats, at the line of scrimmage, or just a little quick dump offs and stuff like that. And so, I'll be interested to see how this offense starts to kind of form around Taylen, because I do agree. I think we all are on the same page that Arkansas is starting to get a better understanding of what they have with Green at quarterback.
Yeah, and I've got 3 quick responses.
Absolutely. But before I go,
no, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
I was going to ask one last question, but I want to let you respond to what I said before. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good. No, I got 3 quick responses to the 3 main points you made. You're absolutely right about the turnovers. We would probably be harping on those 2 interceptions more if Auburn didn't turn it over 5 times. I would be surprised if there's another SEC team on Arkansas' schedule that turns it over 5 times in a game. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it's going to happen. To the point on Taylen Green and the hospital balls and everything, I think one of the biggest things with him is he's not throwing guys open. He's not throwing before they make their read, before they make their cuts. It's after they're open. And so everybody knows exactly where that thing is headed, including the defense. That's problematic. And then I would love for College Game Day to come down to Fayetteville. They better get up for the freaking game, because that's been this thing at home where they just do not get up to play these home games. And nothing would be worse than finally getting that opportunity, being on that stage, and then they come out flat and it gets ugly. I don't want to see it.
Oh, yeah. All right, so the last question for all 3 of you gentlemen. I personally think Broden should be on the bench. If you was to choose your 3 receivers to start the game, what would the 3 receivers be? And I appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and listen back in the chat.
All right. Thanks, Unbiased Bryn. Just good to hear from you. Glad everything's going well. I mean, obviously, I think we're all in agreement that it's Andrew Armstrong and also Isaiah Satania. And the third guy, you haven't really had much, but I know we haven't seen much of him, but maybe is it Tesla?
That's who I go with.
I mean, that's probably who I'd go with.
But Tesla does this weird thing where he's like better out of the slot. Like that was when they started to realize they could use him, was out of the slot. And so if you're using him in the slot, I don't know how that works with Satania, because Broden, for whatever, is been a guy they've had on the outside. And man, I really wanted to be all in on the Broden experience. It just has not happened. And I mean, I feel like it's holding this offense back. And so I don't know. I know everybody's kind of clamoring for Monte Harrison. I don't know if we have no idea what the situation is there, but I do think Tesla is the right answer here. I think he's kind of earned that right.
I would go Tesla, Jordan Anthony, and then maybe Monte Harrison in that order.
That's fair. That's probably what I would do too.
For the third
Can
guy.
I interest you in a little Davion Dozier?
No. I wish.
Yeah. But just not now.
Yeah.
It's just not
I
happening.
like the idea better than I like the practice.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into the best and worst of the weekend presented by the Leroy Lounge. For whatever reason, who was it on the phone lines? We were at the Leroy on Saturday night for our post game that also could not say Leroy Lounge, because I can't. I don't know what it is. I speak for a living and I cannot say that phrase in a row. So I'm glad somebody else struggles with it too. It's like I have a speech impediment. But either way, best and worst of the weekends presented by them. We're going to be there tonight at 6 p.m., folks. We're going to be streaming live, hanging out, literally just chilling, talking nonsense. We'll have the phone lines open if you want to call in, if you can't get there, but come hang out with us. We're going to watch a little Monday Night Football, get some great food, some great drinks, and a great time. So if you're in the area and looking for a place to watch the game here Monday Night Football, come out to the Leroy on Dixon Street. All right, now I'll kick it off with the best and worst of the weekend. We'll start with the best. Guys, I just want to present you this. I mean, like, what other context could possibly be needed for this absolute unit of a head coach? This man,
performance.
dude, like, not only is the look incredible, some people felt like this was a woman at the time. Don't know, and I can't imagine why they felt that way. But also,
that was my initial reaction.
Yep. But is the guy? The fact that this guy's name's Biff Poggi. It's just incredible.
Star Wars character name is Biff Poggi.
Yeah, Biff Poggi. Yeah, he's part of the Jabba the Hutt clan, I guess. But man, just again, there's other great things too, and I'll have some other best. But I just wanted to present that. That was one of the best of the weekend for me.
No, I like that a lot. I love that, actually. How about, I don't know, like Bert, Barry, and the boys for the Fighting Illini? I mean,
getting it done.
They ended the legend that is Andrew's favorite quarterback at Nebraska. So
jeez, man, that guy ended his own self.
Yeah, Barry Lunny was getting mad props from the announcers late in that game. It was crazy. Like, they'd run an inside zone and pick up 6 yards, and the announcer's like, that is a just incredible, fantastic, genius level play call by offensive coordinator Barry Lunny. I'm like, okay. He was getting a lot of love.
That Barry Lunny PR working overtime. I like that. Well, sticking with the theme of legends putting together one last run to rise to prominence, how about Andy Dalton? Y'all hear about Andy Dalton this weekend? He gets
Red Rocket.
Bryce Young get the number 1 overall pick benched for Andy Dalton. And all week, there were a lot of people doing this crazy thing about how, the Panthers franchise failed Bryce Young and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, man, the poor kid had no chance to succeed. Oh, with poor Bryce Young, this is so sad. Clearly turns out it was Bryce Young, because Andy Dalton goes out there 26 for 37, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. They win on the road against the Raiders, who just beat the Ravens. And so, look, I'm sure Andy Dalton's going to come back down to earth because he's Andy Dalton. He's a very average quarterback. But I thought it was so funny because people were talking about Bryce Young like he was like this guy being held hostage. And like it was just this gross misunderstanding and how he was done dirty. And it's like, it seems like he just isn't very good at playing NFL football. And they put in a guy who we all know is like the most mediocre NFL quarterback you can find. And he looks great in their offense. So I feel like that was pretty funny. But I loved it for Andy Dalton because he just he's a good dude. And I used to hate Andy Dalton, actually. Really used to not like him. But he's been around forever. Again, there's just something to be said about being average forever. And I respect it, man. He's made like $200 million just being solid, just being there and dependable. And good for him, man, getting one last little career resurgence.
He reminds me, he's just like that Ryan Fitzpatrick, just like he just refuses to die in the NFL, just refuses to go quietly into the night.
Was it Ryan Fitzpatrick who took the stray from Nikki Glazier on the? Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
I didn't watch the clip, but I saw that she was on there, and I saw people were really mad about it.
She said something along the lines of it's great to be around all these NFL legends or something, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, she just added it at the end. It was like, dang.
Well, I feel like he made plenty of money in the league, so he has nobody to apologize to. How long he was in there. Another best of the weekend. I know you guys saw this too. Pretty funny, but the Tennessee football equipment truck got in a wreck on. Everyone's okay, but got in a wreck on I-40 East in North Little Rock as they were on their way from Norman to Knoxville. So had all eastbound lanes were closed to make this happen, and this was the picture that was taken on RDOT. So, man. Hate to see it. Look, the wheel is missing in the front. Like, it is gone on that truck. So, pretty crazy stuff.
That's brutal, man. Yeah, that's brutal.
Can't have anything.
How about, does Coach Prime in Colorado, do they belong on best of the weekend? We put them on worst after that nonsense a couple weeks ago, and then the crazy Hail Mary and the strip at the goal line and overtime. And I mean, they found a way. They won a conference game, beat Baylor. Storm the field after beating Baylor. I don't know if that belongs on the best of the weekend, but the way the game ended does.
Dude, they had the goalpost down before the ref had even finished saying the results of the review. Like, it was crazy.
That was
think about it. I think he was saying they were starting the review. Like, he was like, the ruling on the field is this. The play is under review. And before he could even say the play is under review, they had the goalpost down. It was crazy.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, like that's something that's like they were just needed a reason to storm the field and tear it down like that. They just needed that reason to do it. I know we got a lot of best, but hey, everyone said, or Unbiased Barrett said I was evil John last week, so I guess I got to really make up for it by being not evil. But either way, Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss QB, did you see the stuff he was saying on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
Man, he was, of course, played for Hugh Freeze back in 2013, 2014. He deleted some of the tweets, but some of them where he was just like he's like, I'm not going to sit here and fight with, or he's talking about Hugh Freeze and talking about, oh, well, he beat Alabama, blah, 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 because people saw Hugh Freeze kind of going after the players. But he says, we're approaching that point that he's thrown so many quarterbacks under the bus that maybe no one wants to play for him. His offense helped me tremendously put up numbers, but I blew my shoulder out, which is why there's always somebody else at fault for the loss. Also went into saying, the guy got blocked. He's like, I probably will too. I won't notice though. All the guy did was break my body in half, and I played every game when getting a numbing shot just to go let him get his money. Then I graduate and can't do anything to benefit for him, and he hasn't helped me one time. That's the truth. Just really went off on Hugh Freeze from the weekend. Former quarterback great Bo Wallace. So
man, yeah, that's tough stuff. And Hugh Freeze, I thought he maybe he could have handled it a little bit better, but I think he unfairly caught some criticism after the game. People were saying he's throwing his guys under the bus and stuff. He owned it multiple times in his 10-minute post-game press conference, but he's not wrong by saying, yeah, it's sickening that we're doing the right things and guys are running open and we're running the football well, but we just keep turning it over. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying like, hey, I got to find somebody who's not going to throw it to the other team. But he kept saying like, we are obviously not coaching quarterbacks very well. I have to get this fixed. Like, yeah, I thought he owned it. So.
Yeah. Well, here's the clip. We'll play the clip real quick just so people have context for it.
Unfortunately, this is what I know, and I know that there's people open, and I know that we're running the football. And we got to find a guy that won't throw it to the other team. And we got to find running backs that hold on to it. You know, that's a huge play there. I mean, we're going in to score. I don't know, what was it, 7-0 then, or so it's 7-7, and our defense gets a stop, and who knows what happens. But, you know, the scheme is what most everybody in the country is running some sort of. But you've got to have good play at quarterback for sure to at whatever system you're going to choose.
So that's the quote that everybody was using, but yeah.
And they left out a lot of the context.
Context. Who needs that? Who needs that? So
that's something you people would do to Sam Pittman. You know?
You jerks. A bunch of terrible people out there. So that was my worst of the weekend, by the way. So Curtis, what do you got for worst?
How about Jacoby Criswell's 475-yard passing day being overshadowed by them giving up 70 points to James Madison?
Dude. Was it 53 at halftime, right?
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
absolutely brutal.
Matt Brown admitted that he was like thinking about like quitting on the spot. Like he was like, I was walking off the field and I'm thinking, he was thinking about asking his players, like, are y'all pleased with the leadership of the program and all that?
Put a legend into retirement, bro.
Dude, that's like
I think I may have called Mac Brown getting fired preseason. Like, I felt like he had been living off these quarterbacks that were like kind of elevating the program, and they were sneaky like a bad team being carried by Drake May. I compared it to Louisville with Petrino, actually, where like as soon as Lamar left, they just immediately went from like a 7-5 team to a 2-10 team. I think you got something like that going on in North Carolina. I don't think they're going to go 2-10, but I think they're going to go like 4-8, 5-7, and have a decision to make.
Well, I would say that it reminds me maybe more of like Steve Spurrier at South Carolina. Remember him? He was just like, they start off with they were 2-4 or something. He's like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm retiring. I'm over it. So,
he's like, I am now old. I officially am old.
All right, Andrew, close us out here with your worst of the weekend.
Arthur Blank. Y'all know that scumbag? Y'all familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
Home Depot guy, Atlanta Falcons guy, hates Bobby Petrino guy.
Yep.
He decided to honor himself at the Falcons game this weekend. So he decided, he was like, hey, congratulations, Arthur Blank, on your achievement for this franchise. And we're going to give you a little spot here at the stadium. And so the owner of the Falcons threw himself a party inside of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Dude, that's my favorite thing. Because, my birthday's next week, guys, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go on our Inside Arkansas stuff and be like, let us wish John Neighbors a happy birthday. And just be like, oh, thanks, guys. Like to wish myself one and act like it's everybody else that made it.
You would not be the first former radio guy in the state of Arkansas to interact with yourself via different Twitter accounts. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be. That's where I got the inspiration from, of course. So, but hey, everybody, we appreciate you watching in, listening in to Inside Arkansas Live, and always being patient with us on Mondays because the Sam Pittman press conference, we're kind of just up to them of when we get going. But we appreciate your patience. Remember, we'll be at the Leroy Lounge tonight, starting at 6 p.m., doing a live stream hangout there on Dixon. Come hang out with us and watch a little Monday Night Football. And we're going to have a great time. And also check out InsideArkansas.com for all the great written content each and every day, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel here at Inside Arkansas. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you at the Leroy.